called Karyagara, called Crafting Stories, Healing and Healing Children Through Stories. What a wonderful topic. And we have with us Kamini ma'am, Dr. Kamini Rege. She's the Associate Professor for Development, of Human Development at Nirmala Niketan and also Joint Secretary at the Early Childhood Association. Thank you ma'am. That's such a lovely topic, healing and healing through children through stories.
Thank you very much. I probably would move around, so I will use the hand mic if you don't mind. So I'm sure all of us have grown listening to stories. The first question that goes to all of you. Yeah, my time starts now, right? Suman? My time starts now, right? Okay. So my first question goes to you is, think of that one person you could remember who has narrated this story to you, and you remember that person. Anyone? Grandmom. How many grandmoms do you, how many of you remember grandmoms? Very good. Okay. Your mother, your teachers, your fathers, your grandfathers. I'm sure we've all grown with stories. And stories have helped us grow. Right? Probably what we've been hearing since morning. The whole language approach, the music and movement, all these parts were a part of the story sometime. As we were growing, as we were listening. Ansi, can we have the slide? Okay, doesn't matter. So, in the meantime, that the technical issue is getting settled, my next question is, which one story that you think of or you can remember which you have heard as a child? Anybody? Any stories? Yes, one hand up here. I can see this hand going like this. Yes, ma'am. Which story do you remember as a child that you have heard? Lion House. Superb. How wonderful you are all helping me with. One more hand went up here.
The first story which I heard from my grandma was always Chutai
One morsel of food going in your mouth as the chutai and the Karyagara, or probably what we call it as the sparrow and the crow. Okay, that's one story. Fantastic. Anybody else who thinks of any other story? The three wishes. Okay, wonderful. The three wishes. Yes, one more and two more. Yeah, two more. Huh? That's Snow White. Snow White and the seven dwarfs. Shravan Bar. Shravan Bar, okay. Again, a lot of more. Salre Bhopya Tunuk Tunuk. Sweet. Salre Bhopya Tunuk Tunuk. The pumpkin story. Cinderella. Super. So, yes. Quite a number of common stories that we have grown with are, the first one somebody mentioned was the lion and the mouse. It's working? It's not working? Can you just change the slide if you don't mind? Yeah. So I had asked you to recall the story. Now my next question to you is, one of them had mentioned that I remember the story of the sparrow and the crow because my grandma would feed me along with it. So you can recall something. So some of you who have given me examples, why do you remember that story? That's one story that I've asked for. Why do you remember? Why do you recall that story only?
It was a touched our heart. Because touched our heart. Okay, touched your heart.
Because there was a rhyme there. Very good. Super. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm coming to you. Because it was experience learning.
Okay. Fantastic. You have made it all. I don't need to take my session.
I remember my grandmother's warmth.
Okay, fine. Probably she sat next to you. Probably she even touched you while she made those expressions.
Those stories had a meaningful context.
Wow. And probably you did not feel the fear while you were listening to the story. You could listen to it anytime.
Moral, and we learn our culture that we should respect our elders.
There was some moral. It could be anything. It could be respecting elders, it could be taking care, it could be sharing things, it could be many, many such things. Fine. Next slide, please. I think it's not working, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so go ahead because I've already covered this while we were in the technical issue. Can we go next? So some of the stories I have just listed down, anticipating that yes, these also would be shared. We go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay, some of you may remember this one also. The boy who cried wolf. Langa ala. Right? Okay. Next one. In nature. Okay, next one. Fine. So almost all tales have actually been told. Wait. Don't jump. Yeah. Actually, all tales have been told to teach someone something. Some of you have already placed it on record that it's for moral, for adding culture, for giving values, for making us feel even comfortable. So, each one of us have its own origin. Either a child who wouldn't eat or one who would not share. The stories would help us twist that little behavior in us. See how this one did? And see how the little boy was screaming wolf. So if we tell lies, what happens? You know, that's how the moral would be actually ingrained into us. Or maybe to teach the cultural and spiritual values. Now I'm going to show you a story which some of you would have seen it, but I want to show you the 4 versions because we've grown only with one version. The rabbit and the tortoise, the common story. Which is the common story? The common story is that the tortoise wins the race. And what's the moral of the story? Slow and steady wins the race. But my question to you, does the fast and consistent not do well? Right? If you are fast and consistent, then too you could do well. So today's children will definitely ask you, but if the rabbit wouldn't have gone off to sleep, would it be the rabbit who would have won? So I wish to show you this story in 4 different versions and which is going to be a part of my time. Please go ahead. Rabbit and the turtle. Yeah.
Once upon a time, a turtle and a rabbit had an argument about who was faster. They decided to settle the argument with a race.
It's
The
available
turtle and
on
the rabbit
YouTube.
both agreed
Don't
on a
worry.
route and started off the race. The rabbit shot ahead and ran briskly for some time. Then, seeing he was far ahead of the turtle, he thought he'd sit under a tree for some time and relax before continuing the race. He sat under the tree and soon fell asleep. The turtle, plodding on, overtook him and soon finished the race. Emerging as the undisputed champ, the rabbit woke up and realized that he'd lost the race. The moral of the story is that slow and steady wins the race. This is the version of the story that we've all grown up with. But our version of the story continues. The rabbit was disappointed at losing the race, and he did some thinking. He realized that he'd lost the race only because he had been overconfident, careless, and lax. If he had not taken things for granted, there's no way the turtle could have beaten him. So, he challenged the turtle to another race. The turtle agreed. This time, the rabbit went all out and ran without stopping from start to finish. He won by several miles. The moral of the story? Fast and consistent will always beat the slow and steady. It's good to be slow and steady, but it's better to be fast and reliable. But the story doesn't end here. The turtle did some thinking this time and realized that there's no way he can beat the rabbit in a race the way it was currently formatted. He thought for a while and then challenged the rabbit to another race, but on a slightly different route. The rabbit agreed. The turtle and rabbit started off. In keeping with his self-made commitment to be consistently fast, the rabbit took off and ran at top speed until he came to a broad river. The finishing line was a couple of kilometers on the other side of the river. The rabbit sat there, wondering what to do. In the meantime, the turtle trundled along, got into the river, swam to the opposite bank, continued walking, and finished the race. The moral of the story: first, identify your core competency, and then change the playing field to suit your core competency. The story still hasn't ended. The turtle and rabbit by this time had become pretty good friends, and they did some thinking together. Both realized that the last race could have been run much better. So, the turtle and rabbit decided to do the last race again, but to run as a team this time. They started off, and this time, the rabbit carried the turtle till the riverbank. There, the turtle took over and swam across with the rabbit on his back. On the opposite bank, the rabbit again carried the turtle, and they reached the finishing line together. Both the turtle and rabbit felt a greater sense of satisfaction than they'd felt earlier. The moral of the story? It's good to be individually brilliant and to have strong core competencies, but unless you're able to work in a team and harness each other's core competencies, you'll always perform below par, because there will always be situations.
Thank you so much. So we see the 4 versions, and it's important because times are changing. We need to understand that children will have a lot of questions. They have a lot of competition in their own respective levels. Every parent is comparing them. Every teacher is comparing them. They themselves see that, okay, I can do this and I can't do this. So there is a lot of emotional turmoil within children at much younger age as 3, 4 and 5. What are we doing about it? We come to the next slide. The next one, darling. Okay. So, we go next. Can I have the slide changer? Otherwise, we could. Yeah. Alright? Thank you. Okay. So, in fact, what people have known since dawn, that means it's about story teachers. But no, just now the video that I showed you, stories transform us. They don't only teach, they bring about a change within us. यहाँ से नहीं चल रहा है, sir. Okay. The moment the story teaches someone something, it means it's transformation, which means the listener and the facilitator grows with the story. And then comes a point which is called as healing. The therapy is happening. Automatically the therapy is happening. So therefore, this therapy is called as bibliotherapy. Biblio is stories and therapy is healing. So this is how we are helping the children heal through stories. So bibliotherapy can be used by anybody, just like that, anyone can use it, or is it all available in the reading matter? The next click please. Next click, not at all. Next click, I think it's going a little slow. Yeah. Next click. So therefore, we have to understand this more effectively. Next please. There are some titles that I've given here. I Want a Sister, Bunny's First Day at School, The Boy Who Wouldn't Eat Breakfast, The Girl Who Was Not Built Right. These are some of the titles. What do they tell you? Okay, only emotions. Anything else? The gender differences. Okay, anything else? What is something common? There is some problem in everyone. All the titles, there is some problem. There is some challenge, there is some concern. Right? Now, I have one example here. A 5-year-old girl whose mother has just delivered a baby boy. She's now showing a lot of restlessness and has become moody in the class. She was also caught pinching children, her friends. Probably jealousy, probably what else? Comparison. She's not happy about a new baby coming. Maybe she was not prepared enough for the new baby to be there. Probably there could be some emotional turmoil, okay, a challenge, attention deficit for her own self. The mother may not have shown any attention deficit, but the child is feeling so. Fine, next slide please. So, question to the answer when using bibliotherapy. I am calling it bibliotherapy, you can call it as healing therapy. But what are the questions? Next slide please. I will continue. Click. What is the objective of using this story or any kind of story? When you're going to pick up a story, these are the questions that a teacher or a parent will have to have in mind when you're going to look for a story. Okay? And because we are doing a workshop here on Tinkering Fest, it is important for us to figure out why are we looking for a particular story. So what's going to be our objective? What are the challenges or problems that we want to address in this issue? In this issue, in the sense, the example that I spoke about. Next one. Whether it's to be used by child or the parent or both. Whether I as a parent need to read it out for myself, whether I have to read it out for the child, whether I have to have explanation, and it could be for teacher and child too. Whether it is to be used with only individual child or with a group of children in my class, because the child is also pinching somebody else. So the other child is also getting affected. The next one. What is the material to be selected? Material in terms of book, teaching aid, pictures, probably my voice modulation, all kinds of things that I need to choose. Where is it going to be available? Will it be available online? Whether it will be available in the books? Whether I have to create one. The next one. How the material will be used, keeping in mind the counseling objectives. That means I know the problem now. I know that this child is getting disturbed. I know that this is the reason for the child to be disturbed. But I need to know that I have to heal this child. I cannot shout at her. I cannot beat her up. I cannot put her in one corner and say, because you're doing something like this, you will be sitting in one corner. No, I need to deal with it. I need to handle it. And when and why. So next slide. Any literature that you are picking up, any literature that you are choosing, there are certain very important points that one needs to keep in mind. Literature, why I am saying, because we are reading out to the children, or probably we are using that material with the child, whether it is online, offline, whatever it may be. The next slide please. The whole thing, can you please click all the, yeah, thank you. So yes, when you are using the content, it has to be well written, appropriate for the child's level. That means even if you find a story which is a little higher in the language, you have to modify it, you have to simplify it. Secondly, the language should be familiar and it should be more realistic to the child's experience. Something which is completely out of the way, doesn't make sense to the child will never be able to relate it. The nextly, the previous slide only. It should be relatable emotions and very straightforward. This has happened and this needs to be done. There has to be a cause and effect, the solutions that are there, process of working out, clear channel of communication, and very important is the last one, offer situation which will generate genuine enthusiasm in the child to improve himself or herself. Next, we go to the next one. So, the guidelines for teachers or parents for using bibliotherapy is identify. After the child has read the book, if the child has not read it, then if you have read the book, then determine and discuss the problem. Brainstorm with the child. Encourage child to think about the possible solutions. Listen, respect the child's point of view also. Also select, help children examine the advantages. Why he did it, why he did not do it. What happened when he did it, what would have happened if he did this to one child, and if it is done to him, what would he or she feel about? What is the other solution? What do we do when we feel like this? What do I do? What are the solutions? What are the options that I need to look at? So it's something which is more workable has to be selected or taken into account, and that needs to be implemented. And this will be only known when you know the child well and you know the background well. You can't anticipate that this may be happening because. So explore and implement, let the children gather necessary material, resources, and make the solution more easy to be implemented. Select the solution which is more easily implemented. Evaluate with the child and observe, discuss whether the solution to the problem was successful. If not, encourage a new solution. Don't stop at that, kuch bhi karo, iska koi farak nahi padta hai. No, we have to figure out, and that's where I'm coming to the next one. The next slide, which is going to be a story, which I'm going to show you. It's a story, it's a very beautiful story, and there are multiple such stories. Hands are not for hitting, voice are not for yelling, and so on and so forth. There are multiple series. One of them I'm showing you here, how it could be helpful. In case if it's not showing the net, then yeah, we can show the screen, the video itself. Okay. Technical issues. So, anyway, this is among the last slides of my. It won't go. We have to either shut down. I mean, close. Yeah. Thank you. आवाज करो. आवाज करो.
Hands are not for hitting. Hands come in all shapes, colors, and sizes. Hands can do lots of things. Can you wave yours? Hands are not for hitting. What are hands for? Saying hello, drawing, playing, building. Hands are not for hitting. What are hands for? Eating and drinking, dressing and undressing, keeping safe, taking care. Hands are not for hitting. What are hands for? Helping, hugging, waving, goodbye, the end.
You see, it can go on. Yeah, the last one. Yeah, so there are a few examples that I have shared here, which are behavior modification books that you could use in the schools. Once again, I wish to bring to your attention that as a parent, it's important for us to tell the child what needs to be done. We often put across a no. This is not what you are supposed to do. A lot of no's will restrict a child from understanding what he or she has to do. So try and find solutions. Even the sentences, if you have less of no's, it would be better. Also, very often as parents and teachers, we use the word you, and that you blocks the child. Okay, you did this, you did that. So instead of that, if we could use I words, I would appreciate you to do this. I was feeling very hurt when you did this. The child will feel, okay, you're not making him feel guilty. You're just giving him the reason. The minute you're saying you, it only blocks his thinking, his mind, his emotions that, okay, I am not liked. And probably he will also come and talk to you or tell you that, oh, was it that my teacher didn't come today because I was too noisy in the class? So which means the child has taken it on him that my teacher is absent today because yesterday I made so much of noise. So let's not add that guilt in a child. Let's help and heal children. And stories are the best methods to help and heal children. Thank you very much. I'm open to the questions if any. And otherwise we end this session here. Within time? Thank you. Looks like no questions, that means either you have not understood everything or understood everything.
Ma'am, I have a question. And whenever we have heard stories from our father or mother, they have always said a moral also along with the story. Should we do the same thing?
Thank you for the question. Yes. Should there be morals be told at the end of the story? The morals should not be just the one-liner, no? Slow and steady wins the race. The child will not understand what it means. If you are able to relate it to his real-life experience, then probably the moral will make more sense. So there's no harm in telling the child. I was just sharing that example where the boy who cried wolf, okay, see what he did, he shouted and therefore, nobody heard him. But how are we relating it to his real everyday life? So when the child says, have you eaten your food today? Did you finish your tiffin? The child says, yeah, I finished. Okay, now what will happen? And probably his tiffin is full. So if you relate it to that experience, okay, now see, you've told me that you finished, but it's still there. So what will mama feel? Mama feels that you're not going to tell her the truth. Would you like if mama doesn't tell you the truth? So you have to relate it. Also you have to talk about it, that when you're telling a lie, next time nobody will trust you. When you tell me that you went and you have some friend of yours has given you something, mama will not believe you because you are telling a lie. So you have to relate a lot of things to his daily experiences and then narrate it as morals. And also I would share with you all that yes, as children we were told the moral. How many of us really understood that moral? Yeah. Man is also waiting.
One story had more than one moral.
Yes, I think so. You the first one.
So that was a version that later on it was added. Like if we let the child, not about more than 5 years, if we go to class 3-4, so if we let them say the moral, so we come up with different morals.
Just one more example of, Suman ma'am, just let me know how much time do I have, okay? Just one more example. How many of you have heard the story of the monkey and the capsular? I had that on my slide anyways. I'm sure all of you have heard it. You know, the story goes very well till the point where the monkeys take his cap up and then he gets up, wakes up and he sees. So he starts doing all kinds of action and the monkeys also do all those kind of actions, okay? What happens then? He throws his own cap down. Okay, and the monkeys also throw the cap. Okay, now he picks up all the caps and think about it, till now monkeys were doing everything. So when he started picking up the caps, because we said there were so many monkeys and the monkeys had thrown the caps all over the place. So when he started picking up, you think the monkeys were just sitting on the tree and looking at him? A child will turn around and ask you this question. That till now everything that the monkey was doing, I mean the capsular was doing, the monkeys were repeating it. So why did the monkeys not come down? So here is your point, that open the question to them. Okay, now the caps are all down and he wants to pick up the caps. What do we do now? Because if he starts picking up, the monkeys also will come and pick up the caps. So then you would find a lot of children coming up with destructive and constructive answers. Like for example, when I have opened this question, one of the child did say, teacher, the monkey capsular can have a stick around, so he can hit the monkey's vehicle. That's a destructive response. Okay, what if all the monkeys start getting a stick and beating the... So you have to have that question. So, it's instead of that, you say that, okay, the capsular said, now what do I do? So he opened his big tokra and he kept it. And he picked up one cap and put it inside. Okay, and he waited. So what happens then? The monkeys also started coming and putting. And then he thanked the monkeys. Oh, thank you, bye-bye. See you. I'm going. And all the monkeys also went. Now what could he do? He quickly could pick up and then this is some kind of a modification that you are bringing about so that the child has some settled answer. And the answer goes as per his choice, his wish, and it's more realistic.
The story, the grandmother is the answer, but in one is the story. When we are telling the stories.
I think you kind of solved my concern because we were going to tell you there are a lot of storybooks which are being kept, which are modified stories. They are also called, these modified stories are also called as fractured stories. You can Google it and you'll find fractured stories. Now, there are beautiful books kept. One is Goldilocks and the 3 Golden Words. The Goldilocks actually runs away after doing all the mess in the house. Okay? So, instead of that, can the Goldilocks not be taught to say, thank you, I'm sorry, please can I come to your house next time? So we are modifying, that means we are fracturing the story which is originally what you said, that she kills. Can we not modify it? There's a beautiful book again written by Dr. Swati Popat on the Hansel and Gretel, the story of Hansel and Gretel, where they cook beautiful, wonderful food for that old lady, and she's now happy to have the children coming to her house. So it's about how you modify it and how you make it more constructive. Already the children are viewing everything very destructive around them, through media, through whatever. So let's make it more positive, at least through stories. Yes, ma'am. Last question, because I don't think I have too much time on my hand. And we will definitely meet at lunch in case if you have any questions.
My question is actually about celebrations at school, wherein we speak a lot about whatever has happened on with the mythological side. Now, what she meant, I mean, would be something related to that. Because stories, what we are telling, we can surely modify. But how do we modify?
Okay. Probably mythological stories are something that we have also grown with. So we can't afford to be fracturing them. Okay, there are certain scientific reasons behind everything that has been there, even mythologically. So as teachers' expertise, it's important for us to find out why certain things are happening or why certain festivals are celebrated in a particular manner. And that reasons or those options, those alternate, those rational reasons which are there, because of which whatever are the mythological stories, if we are able to identify it correctly, I'm sure we are able to give the children the right responses, why, what and how. Anyways, the concepts of God, death are a little abstract for children. But we can't afford to not share with them, because they are also, to some people, they are realities, they exist, they happen in every homes in their own respective forms, and we are living with that culture. So we can't afford to completely eradicate it. But yes, it's important to find out the reasons why. And why certain things are done. A lot of rituals which are performed because of XYZ reasons. There is a rationale behind it, and we need to tap those correctly. And therefore I say that there is a requirement for all of us to know the teacher expertise. I was just sharing yesterday at the dinner time with one of the colleagues here that most of us as teachers don't even know that some of the musical instruments are made from dried vegetables. So that's what our teacher expertise is. So we need to really tap our resources to figure out that why this is being done, why this was done, and how it was being done, and therefore we need to relate. Some stories are abstract, I agree with you, they are mythological stories, but then we have also grown with it. And we have also believed them, and we even believe till date. I hope I have been able to answer your questions. Hopefully, I have been able to reach to you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kamini ma'am, for that insightful session. I think rhymes and stories are interwoven in an early years, classroom, school, and it's such an important tool to use. And what Kamini ma'am just taught, that stories have moved forward, they've evolved in themselves, and we need to go out and explore them or modify them ourselves or use our own creativity to put them out in front of children and bring about some thinking or rationalizing or disrupting or ending sometimes with no conclusion for that matter. But it's such an important tool, and I think Kamini ma'am, you put it forward and you answered so many questions, and that was a big takeaway. I know how much it means to a teacher or a principal sitting here to take something like this and take it back to a classroom and know that you made a difference. Thank you so much. I'd like to call ma'am on stage, please, and Preetham to come and felicitate Kamini ma'am. Preetham is also the Vice President of the Early Childhood Association. guests know that we are a very friendly lot here at the Early Childhood Association. We do not come across clap for that kind of thing. So, exciting music slowly.